Are we finally at a point where most people, even creative professionals, can finally avoid the pro price tag of MacBooks and instead go for the Air without losing too much performance? Recently, my wife and I invested in this base model M4 Air MacBook, and it's all stock, baby. The very lowest tier you can possibly buy. Is this thing gonna be good enough for what she does for her remote work job? And can it even be good enough for when I want to use it to travel, video edit, photo edit, make thumbnails? What can Apple's most affordable laptop actually offer us as creative folks in 2026? So what we're gonna look at today is, how is this computer for a daily driver? Is it comfortable to use? Is it convenient with battery life, stuff like that? And how intense of creative work like video editing can this thing actually handle? I'm gonna put it through its paces. Lastly, is this thing actually worth getting for you, for me in 2026? I'm Zach Mayfield. Now let's talk about tech with intention. First of all, on the outside, this thing is absolutely gorgeous. And this one in particular, the 15-inch, only weighs 2.7 pounds. The flip side of the super thin, minimal design is it's fanless and there's no active cooling. So when we try some intensive tasks like video editing, I'm curious to see how it handles that. There's only 2 USB-C ports and there's no SD card reader. And I know right away that can seem like a red flag for creative people, but a lot of modern cameras now have the ability to not only have USB-C power delivery, but also file transfer directly over USB-C. I rarely use card readers these days because most of the cameras I have, I just plug it into my computer, transfer it. It's not the fastest in the world, but it's also not that slow. And if you're making content with an iPhone, even better, you can just airdrop it or do the same thing, plug it into your computer via USB-C and transfer it that way. Now the display is super color accurate, great news for us creative folks, but there's no HDR and maxes out at 500 nits of brightness, which isn't very much if you're in a bright sunny area like a coffee shop or something. You can still get it done for sure, and 500 nits indoors is fine. The built-in speakers get very loud, but they don't have much low end going on at all, which I wouldn't expect from a super thin laptop anyway. And when I'm editing or doing creative work, I always use headphones anyway. So it's nice. You can throw on music or a video and have plenty of volume, but when it comes to actually getting quality sound, you're gonna wanna use nice headphones. If you're looking for something extremely budget, I discovered these Caster in-ear monitors recently for $22. I showed them off in my recent Steam Deck video, but they're also pretty good for video editing as well if you need something super cheap that really isolates outside noise. As a reminder, this is the base of base models. We have the 15-inch, so it's the slightly bigger version of the Air, but it's got the smallest amount of storage at 256 gigs, but it does have 16 gigs of RAM, which should be pretty dang good for video editing. We'll see. Because it's such a small amount of storage, I would just recommend right off the bat, if you're gonna buy this computer, also buy a nice external solid state drive. They're relatively affordable these days, and it's gonna be way more affordable than just paying the Apple storage tax and increasing it on their website. I get if you need the absolute most convenience, go for that, but at the same time, if you're going for a computer like this for creative work, you're probably already operating on a budget, so you might as well be even smarter and just use an external drive for this stuff. So I loaded up a SanDisk SSD with a bunch of video files, an entire video project that I edited in DaVinci Resolve. Specifically, I loaded up my entire Steam Deck video recently onto this SanDisk drive to throw into Resolve on the M4 Air and just see how things play back. And the results were super interesting. First off, as just kind of a broad overview, because I'm nerdy and excited, I had 3 different cameras rocking on this video, specifically the Steam Deck video. I had a 12K cinema camera, which I was actually using to record my talking head in 8K RAW, which is a lot going on, a lot of quality there, a lot of stuffs. Then I had 2 mirrorless cameras being used for H.265 4K footage, which is the most common format you're probably gonna be recording in if you're a video person. And then also I threw some iPhone 17 Pro log footage in here for tests as well, just to kind of get a general sense of what most people will be using from high end to using your phone. So let's start with the iPhone 17 Pro log footage. First of all, it plays back like an absolute breeze in DaVinci Resolve, and I can play it back at full quality, no problem, with a completed color grade on top. And the TLDR for color grading is anytime you add something render intensive like film grain or something like that that requires a lot of rendering power, that's when you're gonna start to see a lot of dropped frames. But if you do really simple LUTs or quick color grades that don't have too much going on in the render department, you're gonna be just fine with this thing. Next, let's look at the mirrorless camera H.265 4K and 6K footage. This file format is what most of you are gonna be shooting on if you're a video person. Most cameras shoot H.264 or 5. When I had my full color grade on this footage and played it back at full quality, it did drop a few frames here and there. And keep in mind, this is within the Steam Deck Videos project. I didn't just wanna toss a couple 4K videos on a timeline and be like, hey, it works. I wanna show you guys what it feels like in an actual like beefy edit with sound design, color grading, multiple cameras going on. So it wasn't perfect at full quality, but also I had a lot of grading going on, and then I dropped it down to half and it played absolutely perfectly butter smooth. Half and quarter, zero worries at all. I wanna remind you guys though that you absolutely don't have to have your timeline playing back at full quality when you're just editing your video. A lot of times I only use it in full quality when I'm checking for errors at the very end or when I'm color grading and I need to see every little hyper detail of a frame. So the fact that I can get buttery smooth performance at half or quarter quality in the timeline is perfect for me. But you might be surprised at how well it can handle 8K RAW. So this talking head footage was from my Blackmagic Pixis camera in 8K Blackmagic RAW. This is, I believe, 14-bit RAW footage, super high quality, and even with a color grade on top, without film grain, keep in mind, it can play back in full quality within the entire edit project with 0 dropped frames. I had no idea Blackmagic RAW was this buttery smooth, and that's why I'm filming in Blackmagic RAW right now, because it makes my editing life easy, even on a base model M4 Air. Kinda crazy. But again, as a quick reminder, anytime you use something like film grain or those intensive plugins, it's gonna drop frames, so that's when you gotta experiment with half or quarter. Unless you have an absolutely beefy and pricey machine that you're editing on, but that ain't what we're talking about right now. Yeah. So the last thing I needed to test, at least for my kind of a workflow, was export times. So I have a pretty intense export setting that I use for all my YouTube videos. It's definitely overkill. I do like 80,000 as my overall quality bit rate, and I do a multipass encode, which basically renders through the video 3 times. Doing that on the M4 Air took about an hour and a half of time and about 30% of battery life, which to me is honestly impressive. And if I were to turn off the multipass encode and just let it go through one time, it would probably only take around a half hour to get that level of export. It's not gonna be quite as dense in that bit rate. It's not gonna look as clean in the end on YouTube, but you'd still get a great result within like probably 30 to 40 minutes of exporting. If you're still in Adobe Premiere prison, first of all, gates are open, you can leave whenever you want. But also my buddy Evan Ranft made a video going over the M4 Air for Premiere Pro editing. Go check out his video if you do that. And if you're into 3D rendering stuff, go check out my buddy Kyle Erickson's video. It's fantastic. And then when it comes to raw photography or Photoshop making thumbnails, or honestly pretty intensive stuff using AI generation, generative fill, that kind of thing, this M4 Air will absolutely slam through that stuff. You have nothing to worry about. Who the heck is this computer actually for? Can it push beyond the limits of its intended user base? I think absolutely. This is a great option for creative folks who are either A, balling on a budget, you just really want to go for something more affordable, or B, you already have a main command center PC or Mac or whatever, and you need a travel computer or just something to run around with that you can still count on when you need it. And that's exactly how I'm gonna use this thing, because I use DaVinci Resolve's cloud-based editing service. So I build all my projects within my own personal cloud. It's like $5 a month to pay for that. And all that means is I can access those edits, those project files, from anywhere that has an internet connection. As long as I have the host files with me on an SSD, I can continue my work wherever. Now this thing's gonna be absolute fire for photographers, anybody doing like basic photo stuff or even intensive raw editing. and even Photoshop work or design stuff, I think this is gonna be pretty dang good, especially if you just need an affordable travel computer. You could do that kind of work while playing videos or podcasts or anything in the background. And the display, especially the 15-inch version, looks nice enough. It's super color accurate, pretty much bright enough in most situations. But what do you guys think? Do you have one? Do you have a different experience? Or what do you think? Let me know in a comment below. And make sure to text me when you get home so I know you're safe. And watch out for deer. Feel free to support me on Patreon or YouTube memberships. Shout out to all these lovely members who've been supporting lately. You get the same stuff across Patreon and YouTube, just so you know. If you can't support, we have a free Discord server, or you can follow me on Instagram for adorable toe pics. And lastly, always remember, you guys are so much more loved than you might even know. All right? God bless you guys, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.